Hello and welcome to Market Madness, the podcast from GiveMeSport where every day is like deadline day with myself, Joel Beya, and GiveMeSport senior football correspondent, Mr. Ben Jacobs. We're currently live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And if you're listening back in the future, then please do make sure you're following us on @GiveMeSport so you can see when the shows go live and when they're taking place and to get up to the minute of the news as it happens. So today coming up, what do we have? That's right. We've got Mr. Fabrizio Romano coming back on the show, and we'll be talking about the latest on Isak as well. And of course, Ben caught up with legendary player and the man himself, Mr. Gustavo Poyet. I remember him from the Chelsea days back in the day, man. Proper legend that. We'll be previewing the Prem and welcoming FPL Matt to the show. Give you a chance to get involved with the GiveMeSport Fantasy Football League this season. And we'll have the latest transfer news from Ben Jacobs himself. So for more info on any stories, please head over to GiveMeSport's website and make sure you're following us across socials where you can get all your questions and comments into us live on the show. Right, let's get into it. This is Market Madness from GiveMeSport. Mr. Jacobs, the man in the know. How you doing? You okay?
I'm good. You know what? I wore white today because somebody tells me you have a wedding in the offing.
Oh, mate, the wedding. It's funny because the wedding is soon. It's like in a couple of weeks, but we got the civil coming up as well. So in a couple of days.
Oh, you got a double header.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on at the moment. And I'm like,
tell me one thing. When you booked the date,
yeah.
Did you make sure it didn't clash with an Arsenal game?
No, I made sure it didn't clash with Market Madness. That's what I did.
There's commitment.
That's the commitment we need. But I just wanted to know, how are you? How are you doing?
Everything is good. It's busy times. There's so much unresolved. Obviously, Isak, Donnarumma, Wissa, and more. So I think we're going to have a crazy end to the window. And it's been non-stop since day one. So I will be glad when September the 2nd hits and I can have a holiday. And I'll also be glad to see your wedding photos in due course too.
Oh, man, it's going to be absolutely wicked. And thank you. I really appreciate the kind words. But we've got a lot to get through today, Ben. So believe me, I want to set you up with questions to answer at the end of the show today, okay? So the question that we've got is, where will Bilal El Kanous end up? And of course, if you want to hear the answer to that question, then please make sure you stick around to the end. Ben's going to go away. He's going to find out what it is. He does this every week. And, I absolutely love it because it's informative and he's usually right as well. Plus, if you want to ask any questions to us, then please make sure you leave a comment wherever you're watching. We will try to pin it up on the screen, etc. Just so you're watching, if you've just come in, this is Market Madness from GiveMeSport.
Straight in with a bit of breaking news. In fact, I've got a double header on breaking news. The first one I want to reveal relates to Eberechi Eze. We broke a little bit earlier on GiveMeSport that Tottenham had entered the race. And this is a new thing. Of course, Eze, a long-standing Tottenham target. But now they're back in for talks. And that could be bad news for Arsenal, who haven't yet placed a bid. There's a few points to raise here. The first is that Eze was not on Tottenham's radar when they were going for Morgan Gibbs-White, and still not there before James Maddison got injured. But now Tottenham feel they need to move urgently for a number 10. This is separate to their pursuit of Savinho at Man City because he's a left winger. In other words, it could be both if all goes according to plan. Eze has a release clause which expires before the Premier League season starts. So on Friday, £60 million plus 8 million in add-ons. I'm told Spurs are prepared to do a deal right now at 60 million and they want to move fast. They've also approached Crystal Palace to understand the terms either behind triggering the release clause or matching it. Even after it goes away, that release clause may still inform Crystal Palace's valuation. And then as for Arsenal, we can still say they're active on Eze, but they haven't bid. And one of the reasons why is because there's a feeling within Arsenal that Ethan Nwaneri can play at number 10. The other aspect to this is outgoings as far as Arsenal are concerned. So is a Leandro Trossard or potentially a Gabriel Martinelli going to have to leave before maybe Arsenal feel in a position where they can move? And the last thing I can exclusively reveal relates to Justin Cochrane, who is somebody very well known to Eberechi Eze, and also are confident of Thomas Frank being an assistant coach at Tottenham. He and Frank are the two that are driving this move, and Daniel Levy is prepared to back Thomas Frank with budget. So keep an eye on Eze to Spurs. He's open to Arsenal, he's open to Spurs, but it's Tottenham that are moving, and as a result, maybe, just maybe, they've moved ahead of Arsenal in the race for Eberechi Eze because they want to do a deal right now, and Arsenal are still discussing internally whether to move.
I find that interesting, Ben, because I didn't know Tottenham had so much money. I mean,
Champions League.
Oh yeah, I guess that answers it. But no, it's but they look very active as well. And even as an Arsenal fan, I really want Eze to come to us, and I'm pretty sure that he wants to come to us over Tottenham. But hey, if we're not bidding for him and they're moving in, then I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there.
Yeah, exactly. Champions League football, more money, obviously, either joining Arsenal or Spurs. And Crystal Palace are unfortunately demoted, and harshly, I feel, to the Conference League. And as a consequence, there might be players that suddenly think we would have stayed if it was Europa League football, but there's a big difference between Conference League versus Champions League, and Arsenal and Spurs can both offer Eze exactly that. Just another bit of breaking news reaching me. I promised you that double header. West Ham United have opened talks with Southampton for Matheus Fernandes, and the player is also open to that move as well. And keep an eye on the Tyler Dibling situation too. We might have more on this a little bit later with Fabrizio Romano. But I'm led to believe, even though the price is very high at the moment for Tyler Dibling, that from Everton's point of view, they've not categorically given up. I know we heard some reports that I respect a few days ago saying they'll likely walk away, but I don't think it's 100% over yet between Everton and Tyler Dibling. So keep an eye on that one in the next 24 to 48 hours.
What kind of numbers are they throwing around for this Tyler Dibling transfer?
So Southampton won about 50 million. There were reports only 6 months ago that 100 million was the valuation, but that was more there, Joel, to ward off the market. 50 million is the number. Everton want to do it at closer to 40 million. We wait and see whether there's any middle ground on both sides. But of course, from Everton's point of view, they've just made another big outlay in Jack Grealish. I know it's only a loan, but the wage coverage makes the deal expensive. And if they need to keep budget, because there's an option to buy, that may be a factor in Everton's thinking. But I am told, even though it's going to be difficult, that the Everton Tyler Dibling saga is not yet entirely over. Okay.
Well, I really rate Tyler Dibling. So I think if Everton do end up landing him, that is a quality player. And also, last question regarding Grealish, are Everton covering all of his wage, or the fair majority, or how much are we talking about?
I think it's basically all of the wage. There was some sort of back and forth over whether Grealish would make a concession which would allow for 100% wage coverage. In essence, Everton are paying at least 300,000, and in addition to that, like I said before, they've got this option to buy at the end of the deal set at £50 million. So even though people think a loan is economical, it's try before you buy, that's a big investment from Everton. It's a show of ambition from the new owners, the Friedkin Group, and they're doing so as they head into this new stadium. And I'm told that Everton are not done yet. They had so many players that left at the end of the season, the likes of Decore, who's gone to Neom. In addition to that, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's now a free agent as well. So Everton are going to be busy, and they're still looking, if they can, to bring in 2 or 3 more between now and when the window shuts.
Wow. Well, thanks for that, Ben. But right now, it's time for us to welcome the man himself. Mr. Here we go. Mr. Fabrizio Romano is on the line.
Fabrizio, great to see you as ever. No doubt working hard with your Coca-Cola and one phone, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And the occasional cold shower. And I think you told us before you listen to a bit of classical music, don't you, to wind down?
Not classical, but almost. It's an Italian singer, so still good for me to relax sometimes.
Well, you get a little bit of rest anyway once we get into September. But for now, we need the latest information. And there's only one place to start, and that is Alexander Isak. Is it true to your understanding that he plans to never play for Newcastle again, even if he doesn't get his Liverpool move this summer?
Yeah, this is what he's telling the club. Basically, this is the message from those close to Alexander Isak to Newcastle. He only wants to go to Liverpool and he doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore. So the message is quite clear, but already since July, Alexander Isak is insisting on this position. This is why he didn't travel for pre-season tour. This is why he's not playing in his first season games, preparing for the new season. So I think it's part of the plan for Alexander Isak. He wants to go. He rejected 3 or 4 approaches this summer from Newcastle to try reach an agreement over new contract with different structures, whether it is close for next summer. He always says no. He only wants to go to Liverpool, and I maintain my position. I believe that Liverpool are very ready to go for Alexander Isak as soon as they will have the doors open. So I think this deal has still very good chances to happen.
Yeah, and Newcastle are obviously looking for attackers, plural. We understand maybe 2 could end up coming in between now and when the window shuts. What's the latest on the likes of Yohan Wissa or Samu or Niko Jackson? Which one of those names do you think is the most likely?
Look, the most likely in this moment is Wissa because it's probably the easier deal to do. So this negotiation with Brentford has not been easy, but it's still ongoing. But on player side, he's really pushing to go to Newcastle. And so I think this one has a very good chances to happen because the player really wants to go to Newcastle, despite some approaches also from Saudi. On Samu, many questions, but in this moment, I'm not sure Newcastle have already started a real negotiation for him. From what I'm hearing from Porto, they've not received any formal approach at this stage, so maybe discussing internally. It's quite obvious to discuss several names when it's 20 days to go to the end of the window, and so they need a striker, and Samu is one of the best around in terms of young strikers, but at the moment, no contact made with Porto yet. For Nicolas Jackson, it's different because Newcastle spoke to the representatives of the player several times. Nico would be really keen on a move to Newcastle, and so I think this one could be an opportunity for the final weeks because for Chelsea and Nico Jackson is over, and so the idea of the player is also to go, and in this case Newcastle I think could appear in the next days.
I have to say, Fab, I didn't say hello to you before we came on the call. I'm under my own pressure, my own transfer deadline day because the wedding's coming up. So hopefully you can let me know how well my wedding will go because right now it's crazy.
It's going to be amazing.
Thank you. You heard it here first. We know that Newcastle, they want a midfielder. Which is more likely out of Villa's Jacob Ramsey and Leicester's Bilal El Kanous?
Look, Jacob Ramsey is really appreciated by the coach, Eddie Howe. So I think in this case, for them, this is probably the priority in this moment. But it's never easy, to negotiate club to club with Villa. So let's see if they will be able to reach an agreement or not. It's normal, I think, with few weeks to go to the end of the window to have several names on the list. So El Kanous is another one with the release clause and with a different situation. So it would be probably easier to get him if Newcastle decide to go for him. But at the moment, they only made contact with the representatives to understand the contract situation and nothing else yet. So let's see what they decide to do on that one. I think there is also a third name on the short list from what I'm hearing. So I think Newcastle will be really busy in the next days, but still no decision made with Jacob Ramsey being for sure a target, but at the moment not an easy negotiation club to club.
What about when it comes to Eberechi Eze, one of my favorite players? I'm hearing and I actually saw on your account this morning that Spurs are in. How do you rate their chances and are Arsenal still in there?
I think in this moment Tottenham are ahead because Tottenham are prepared to go very strong for Eberechi Eze. Arsenal like the player. Arsenal have always been in touch with his representatives already in June, but at the moment I think they are not advancing in these negotiations. Tottenham are trying to make it happen as soon as possible after the injury of James Maddison and also Sonny leaving. For Tottenham, it's important to bring in new players, and so from what I'm hearing is a separate story from Savinho. Tottenham will try to get both, and for Eberechi Eze there are contacts ongoing with his agents and also with Crystal Palace. So I think Tottenham in this moment are really pushing on this one. Let's see if they can get it over the line.
Now, Spurs are also busy in addition to Eze, viewed, I think, as a number 10 by Tottenham and Arsenal, but left wing seems to be a priority too. And you dropped an exclusive a couple of days ago that Spurs are chasing Savinho, despite the fact that Manchester City are quite reluctant sellers here. Do you think this deal is still possible?
I think it's possible. It's not easy because, as you mentioned, City will have to keep the player. They are not so happy with this approach with 20 days to go for an important player like Savinho. But at the same time, Savinho is quite open to this possibility to go to Tottenham. My understanding is that also the coach, Thomas Frank, is really pushing to have Savinho and to make him one of the stars of the squad. So Savinho is tempted. He's also World Cup here, Champions League football. So of course, Savinho, from what I'm hearing, is really, really tempted by this opportunity. Let's see between clubs what happens, because 50 or 55 million euros will never be enough for Manchester City to give the green light to this deal. From what I'm hearing, it has to be at least 70 million euros for Man City to give consideration to this approach from Tottenham. So let's see what happens there. But I think Tottenham will really push on this one again in the next hours or days.
And is it possible as well that Manchester City won't just look at the potential finances of a Savinho deal? They may also potentially sanction that exit if they suddenly think that Rodrigo is a feasible possibility.
Absolutely. From what I understand, Rodrigo is a target for Manchester City. Then it's a difficult deal. Again, it's a few weeks to go. And also Real Madrid are not going to sell Rodrigo for cheap money. It has to be, from what they say from Real Madrid, the price tag is around 100 million euros. And also the player is happy in Madrid. So you need to, it's not about convincing, because obviously Man City is a big club. But telling him that he has to leave Real Madrid at this point is not something easy. But there is Pep Guardiola, who is a big fan of Rodrigo. Rodrigo knows that very well. Pep has always been a big fan of Rodrigo already in the last 2-3 years. He always wanted to sign Rodrigo, was not possible. This summer, maybe the doors could open. And so let's see what happens there. I think if all these players go, McKennie, Savinho, Jack Grealish is going to Everton, in that case, maybe Man City can really try to go for Rodrigo.
Manchester United still in for Carlos Baleba. How much would he cost if that move was to actually happen?
A good question. They would also like to know that, because with Brighton it's never easy to negotiate, and they are very good at negotiations. So in this contest they're having with the agents of the player, they're waiting to understand how much it would cost. Because the rumor in the industry is something around 120 million. But at the moment, Man United still wait to understand the final official cost for Baleba, to understand when and how to try to make a bid and try to approach Brighton for Baleba. For sure, the player is keen on the move. The player is not closing doors to Man United, even without European football. Baleba is keen on joining Manchester United. Now will depend on the two clubs. My understanding is that Man United want to try. They really want to try, see if it's going to be possible. If not, and it's a really difficult deal, they will move on and go on a different target. But they are still trying as of today for Baleba.
Okay, so that's interesting. I know Manchester United fans are keen to hear what's happening there. Do you expect Mark Guehi to be sold this summer? And if so, what's his likely destination? Because in one ear you hear Newcastle, one ear you live Liverpool. It's not quite clear to us.
Yeah, I expect him to go. I expect him to go because obviously losing him on a free for Crystal Palace would be a disaster. And so also Steve Parish sent quite a clear message on that one. So yeah, I think he will go this summer. Liverpool remain interested in the player. So I will still keep an eye on Liverpool. Liverpool need at least a defender, could be two. We will see what happens in the final 2 weeks of the window. But Liverpool are looking at the situation. And for sure, Mark Guehi is a target for them. So I think this is still the most likely destination for him. And don't forget that also Liverpool love this Italian defender, Giovanni Leoni from Parma, who is really talented, wanted by all the Italian top clubs. But Liverpool are also in it. So I think they will be busy with defenders for sure.
And just a word on Everton, Fabrizio. We know they've signed Jack Grealish on a loan with an option to buy. What about Tyler Dibling? Is the price going to be too prohibitive, or could Everton still return?
Look, at the moment, they believe that the price is too high, and so this is why they left the conversations. They left the table. They focused on the Jack Grealish deal in the recent days. So after these negotiations for Tyler Dibling last week, they decided to focus on Jack Grealish. Now, let's see if maybe the price changes, or Southampton can welcome a different kind of approach in terms of structure of the deal. Maybe Everton can still enter the race again. At the moment, it's still quiet around Tyler Dibling because the price is very high. And Southampton, as of today, have no plans to change their stance. Let's see, because in the market, sometimes these things can happen.
So that's the transfer news. That's you in your comfort zone, Fabrizio. But I've got two quick ones for you to finish. And Joel, you can input on this first one as well. You may have seen this viral question doing the rounds to footballers. Who would win in a fight, 100 men or a gorilla? And we need the here we go definitive answer to end this debate. Who will win in a fight, 100 men or one gorilla?
100 men for sure, in my opinion.
Joel?
I'll go for the gorilla, mate. I don't think people understand how strong they are. But there you go. Yeah.
I mean, if it's 100 Fabrizios or 100 Joels, the men are winning. But if it's 100 Ben Jacobs, then the gorilla's eating all 100 of me in about 30 seconds.
Oh,
and the final thing, Fabrizio, and we need the catchphrase here, obviously, our very own Joel Beya is getting married. And naturally, therefore, this isn't about a priest or a legal contract. The marriage is not official until we hear Fabrizio Romano to camera saying, Joel Beya is off the market. Here we go.
Joe Beya is absolutely off the market and is going to be the wedding on the year. So congratulations, Joe. We are with you. And here we go.
Thank you. I promise you, Fab. I didn't tell him to say that at all.
I know.
I know what
I trust you.
Anyway, my friends, I'll let you go. So good to hear from you, especially this time of the season. You're both doing an amazing job. Ben, I'm going to see you again back on our show. And Fab, have a good one. I know you got a lot of calls to make and things to sort out. Okay, I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Madness.
Ciao. Ciao.
That was a nice little touch from you there, Ben. It had me blushing, I don't know if you could
It's like a wedding special, that's why.
I know, it's coming closer and closer to the time. But anyway, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think there's a breaking news that's coming up shortly, isn't there?
This relates to Manchester United and Carlos Baleba, and Man United fans are starting a hashtag now, don't stop Balebing, because they think it might be possible now. And what I can tell you is that Manchester United are actively exploring a deal for Carlos Baleba, having held talks via intermediaries, and personal terms are now not thought to be a problem. So they've not just made outreach to the player side, they're actually talking numbers. Now, Brighton's stance is clear. They don't wish or plan to sell this window. So there is still a feeling a deal is going to be easier in summer 2026. But this is a smart move by Manchester United because they're trying to get ahead of the competition, whether now or for next summer. Brighton's staunch position is not just down to the fact they don't want to sell. It's also due to the belief that in a year's time, this is a player that's going to raise still significantly further. So now, well in excess of 80 million, some even say 100 million. In 12 months' time, Brighton think Baleba will be Moises Caicedo type money. So potentially a British transfer record, obviously depending on what may happen with Alexander Isak. So Manchester United are assessing now whether a deal is possible. They may even approach Brighton and Hove Albion and test their resolve. And there is budget for Manchester United to move for a few reasons. One, planned outgoings, including Alejandro Garnacho likely to Chelsea. Two, an extended revolving credit facility, which has been upped to 300 million. So in other words, they're taking an annual outlay of spend and then they're paying it back like you would a credit card over a long period of time. The other two aspects are it's a new financial year, and also a belief amongst sources that come next summer, still potentially in this financial year, the likes of Bruno Fernandes could depart, Saudi Arabia are still keen, and Casemiro's wage could also come off the books. Now, Brighton haven't quoted a price as of now to Manchester United, and they don't tend to give numbers. So if Manchester United bid, they're likely to do so blind. But at the moment, Ruben Amorim is telling his owners and Jason Wilcox and Christopher Vivell, go and bid now. Show a sign of ambition. Get me a ball winner. Find me an athlete in the middle of the park. And even though Brighton's position is not for sale, Manchester United are still prepared to try. And if they don't succeed, even line this one up and do all the legwork ahead of next year. So there's real substance at the moment to Carlos Baleba and Manchester United. But of course, it will all depend on Brighton.
Thank you very much for that news, Ben. You are on it. You really are. Shortly, we will be joined by FPL Matt, who will be sharing his tips on how to make the most of your FPL season.
I need that. I need emergency FPL.
Yeah, no, it's. Are you good? Are you actually good when you play?
No, I've never finished anywhere close to even the top of my family league, let alone the actual league. And when Leicester were there, this is my one pet peeve, by the way, with fancy Premier League, that you have to affiliate yourself each season to a Premier League club, and then the club you pick, you get put in a league. So obviously for years and years and years, I've been Leicester, and now there is no Leicester League. So I have to pick another team, and I'm out of a Leicester League. I think and this is just my advice to the fantasy organizers, every single region or every single football club, you should be able to pick and put yourself in a league, whether you're a Leicester fan, a Wrexham fan, a Stevenage fan. But no, I have to affiliate to a Premier League team that I don't support, or I'm not in that league. So I'm out the Leicester League somehow now.
Oh, mate, justice for Ben. But before we get back into this, well, the league kicks off on Friday night. So we got Liverpool versus Bournemouth, and I can't believe it's back already. I will be heading to the pub after the civil to watch the game itself. But we're going to look ahead at the Premier League season in a segment that we're going to call Bold Calls. Okay, so we're going to call this Bold Calls. So the way this is going to work for Ben and everybody watching, we're going to take turns to read out different claims about the upcoming season, and then both say whether we agree or disagree. No sitting on the fence. You can justify your answer once we've made our bold call. Are you all good with that?
I'm good. And also, it's not just us. Those of you in the chat, stick in your answers as well, and we'll be flashing them up on the screen too.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to get started with the first one. Okay. Mo Salah will score more Premier League goals than Erling Haaland.
Wow. What a question to start.
Yeah.
I'm going to go all in and say absolutely 100% agree. Mo Salah hasn't been given the new Liverpool contract unless there is a belief running algorithms and data from mathematicians and physicians that are far, far smarter than me. They would not have kept him the highest paid player at the club and invested 2 years in Mo Salah if they thought this guy couldn't push 30 Premier League goals. So my prediction is they'll both get over 20 and Salah will score more than Haaland.
I can't believe you said that, Ben. But firstly, because we know that Mo Salah's done 20 plus goals in like 8 consecutive seasons or whatever that number is, absolutely crazy. But then you have to look at Erling Haaland. What was it last season? In a bad season, it was 31 goals, 31 Premier League goals. The season before, it was 27. And in the first season when he came in, he broke the record with 36 goals. Now, Mo Salah, he's definitely going to be in your 20 plus goals a season. But with the new players that Liverpool have as well, it might change the way they play. The way Jeremy Frimpong's, is it gonna help, or is it gonna take away a little bit from Mo Salah? And then you've obviously got Ekitike there now as well. I don't know.
Come on.
I disagree.
Salah is salivating, excuse the bad pun, at this notion of being fed by Frimpong, fed by Wirtz, fed by Ekitike, linking up with them. He's only going to score more because of those players.
That pun was so bad. Anyway, that is what it is. That's what we're going for. We've gone into the next question.
Here we go.
Sorry, that's you. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I'm going to put this one out there because you've got to answer first because it pertains to your very own Gunners.
Yeah,
Statement number 2: Arsenal will finish above Liverpool.
You already know I agree with that. I 100% I agree with that. Did you not see Arsenal in the recent friendly match against oh my gosh. I'll tell you what, as soon as he scored, that's all I needed to know. The belief is there that we're going to win the league. And not just Gyökeres's goal, Zubimendi throughout. Oh my goodness. We've been missing a player like that. As far as I'm concerned, our defense has always been tight. Zubimendi, not only can he break down play and within short distances, he grabs the ball from anyone, but he's also got skill, tech, assists, and good pens in him. So why on earth can we not go on and win this league? That's my explanation.
Liverpool will win the Premier League. So my answer is no. Arsenal won't finish above Liverpool. And for bonus bold statements, Chelsea will finish above Arsenal as well. And Manchester City will finish above Arsenal. So my prediction is that there'll be a big gap between Arsenal and Liverpool. I don't mean to ruin the wedding or anything, but
I feel so disrespected at the moment. You have no idea. Anyway, next point. More than one of the promoted clubs will stay up. So you got Leeds, Burnley, and Sunderland that have come up, but we're saying more than one of the promoted clubs will stay up.
Do you know what? I actually think so, because Sunderland have spent over 100 million and they've got someone like Granit Xhaka in the centre of the park. Leeds have always been a big club, and some of their players have got Premier League know-how. They're going to try and add number 9, Rodrigo Muniz, even though Atlanta are there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin on their radar. And Burnley have spent quite a bit of money recently, signing, for example, Amanda Broya and Leslie Okwuchukwu. I think Burnley will struggle, but I've got a sneaky suspicion Leeds and Sunderland will both stay up. And I fear for Brentford. And it'll be also very interesting to see how Crystal Palace fare. Fantastic achievement winning the FA Cup, but they've got to balance European football in the Conference League with the Premier League, and they still might lose Eberechi Eze as well. So my prediction is that Leeds and Sunderland are both going to stay up.
They could all go down, if I'm honest. I mean, we've seen all the 3 clubs being promoted go back down, and you look at Sunderland's team, I just don't think they're quite robust enough to play in the Premier League. Burnley, their style of football is going to be very interesting, and Leeds, I just don't know. I'm not really sure about that. But anyway, I'll read the next one. Sorry, it's up to you. Apologies, I've got to.
You just want to read them all. It's just the presenter in you. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. You pick one. We've got a couple more, so you go and pick one.
All right. Manchester United will finish in the top 4.
That's a tough one. I mean, I've literally just said that I think it'll be Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester City, and then I suspect Arsenal. So I'm going to say no, but not far off, because Shesko and Bumo Cunha, for me, get them minimum 25 points and 25 more goals collectively compared to last season. So I actually think that the coefficient will allow for 5 Champions League qualifiers. I don't think Man United will make the top 4, but I do think they'll finish 5th.
I agree with you on that one, to be fair. No pushbacks from me. I agree. Up to you.
All right. Let's move on to Newcastle United won't qualify for the Champions League.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. I mean, really simple. If you're looking at the top 5 teams, in my opinion, you're going to have Arsenal. And this is in order, by the way. Anyone watching, if you want to argue, then that's all good. Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, and Villa, which for me means that if Newcastle have a great season, it means that they get to finish 6th at best. But with everything that's been going on this summer, I don't know what that means for Eddie Howe and his team, man. I really feel the unrest. It's really not ideal. And also playing Champions League, we saw what it did to them a couple seasons ago. It's not easy, especially when you're not really equipped, and they obviously haven't got the players that they wanted to get, or the backup players that they wanted to get, or the backup players that they wanted to get. So it might be a bit of a struggle.
Can I say, though, I think Newcastle are going to win a trophy this season. And it's true, it might impact their Premier League, and so might the Champions League. But I was at St James's Park when Newcastle ended up getting knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage, but they absolutely destroyed PSG. And that atmosphere has always made St James's Park incredible, but particularly in cup football and under the lights. So I've got a sort of sneaky suspicion that even though this Alexander Isak saga has overshadowed their summer, they're going to have a productive window of incomings. Malik Thiaw is already there now from Milan. I think 2 more attackers arrive. I think people underestimate how big Elanga is going to be. On the left, Gordon and Barnes, both in excellent form. Harvey Barnes, fantastic in the back half of last season. Their defence, if they stay fit, is one of the best in the Premier League. And that midfield with Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton, there's no better 3 for me when they're all on form. Maybe you can make an argument for Zubimendi, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, but I think Newcastle are up there, and they're particularly good in terms of their fit in Eddie Howe's 4-3-3. So I think that people are kind of assuming Newcastle's project's going to go backwards. Don't be surprised, though, if more silverware is added.
That's a really bold call, that one, you know. I think that's probably the boldest call that you've had today. You want to go next, or do you want me to go next? Because I know
we'll do one more each. I'm going to go next, and I will pick: will we see a 10-goal Premier League match?
Yes. And Oh, that's actually, wait, let me think about that. No, no,
You
I don't.
changed your mind so quick.
No, I just think there's a few teams that are going to be a little bit more aware defensively. I think Man City's a team that that they'll score loads of goals, but I think they were hurt a lot last season, and I think Pep's going to want to try to sort that out. I think Slot is a very balanced manager. I'm thinking about the top teams here. I'm not saying it couldn't, but if I'm thinking about goal scorers here, I don't see defenses being that wide open because there's too much at risk. There's too much at stake. So no.
I think yes, just because I love goals and I love drama, and who's to say it won't be a Big Six matchup or a derby that's 5-5, Premier League classic and all of that. I don't think we're necessarily going to get such a mismatch where a Liverpool or an Arsenal are putting 10 past a newly promoted side. My Leicester, by the way, got 9 against Southampton once. But what I do think we'll see is a kind of 6 or 7 against a 4 or a 3 in a Premier League classic.
That's a big shot. That's a bold call, that one as well, man. I really do think so. Okay, so my last one will be, will Chelsea make the top 4, Ben?
Yes. I mean, I sort of nailed my colours to this in previous answers, and I actually think that Chelsea will be an 80-point, 80-goal team this season. I followed them during the Club World Cup. I think if Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho come in and they get Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku out, you've basically got an attack of left, Garnacho, Gittins, right, Pedro Neto, Esteval, centre, Cole Palmer, Xavi Simons, number 9s, João Pedro, Liam Delap. The only slight doubt I have about putting them that high up in the table is the injury to Levi Colwill and how they'll react. And some fans would argue Rob Sanchez has to still prove himself as the number 1. But I think Chelsea, if we are to see that 10-goal game, might be the team that are the high scorers. I think they've got goals and weapons everywhere. I think they've really clicked off the momentum of the Club World Cup. I'm not so sure it's going to be a bad thing in terms of fatigue. I think it's actually allowed the whole squad and some of the new signings to bed in. So for me, Chelsea are an 80-point, 80-goal team. And I have them down finishing in either 2nd or 3rd place.
2nd or 3rd place? Wow, that's pretty high up. Anyway, that was it. That is our game, bold calls. All right, so now for a few more bold calls and some advice on how to make the most out of your FPL season. We're pleased to be joined by FPL Matt. Matt, can you come inside the stream? How are you doing?
There he is.
Afternoon, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you well, mate. Matt, you got great hair, you know.
Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah. You came prepared for Market Madness. My goodness.
Do you know what as well? Matt Joel is being a hero because not only has he come on, but yesterday I understand it was his sister's wedding. So first of all, congratulations. And second of all, how's the hangover?
Oh, he's gone on mute. For once, it's not me.
I think we just lost a little bit of the sound there with Matt.
Matt, you're on mute at the moment for some reason. I don't know why we can't hear you. No.
Looks like we lost the sound.
Oh, no.
Matt, what we might ask you to do is just refresh the page and come back into the studio.
Yes.
And me and Joel can kind of start. Do you play fantasy football?
I want to say yes, but I don't. I think I played it for like a quarter of a season, but this season I'm playing it. I'm actually playing it with my wife to be. We're gonna go against each other, and I'm in 1 or 2 groups, and I do plan to hopefully go from the start of the season all the way to the end, because I think that's the most difficult thing, isn't it? It's not even just starting; it's playing it through the whole year, right?
Yeah, and anticipating, I think, the fixtures ahead too. I'm not good at knowing when there's a double game week or when you pick a player with a difficult fixture because maybe they got 5 easy ones after it and all that kind of thing. I believe as well, we have a GMS Fantasy League, and we'll be able to flash that up in a minute and give you all the details. But I think Matt's back with us now. Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
There we go. He's back.
Hey.
Nice.
So how is the wedding and how is the hangover?
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. We're surviving the day.
Good. No, that's really good to hear. First thing is, I want to know, what are your top tips for doing well in the FPL this season?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things really. We've got extra chips, so you may have seen if you're on socials and things like that, and you're following things and you're up to date. We've got a few more chips, so we've got double the amount of chips that we normally have. So the first half of the season up to game week 19, you've still got wild card, you've got free hit, you've now got bench boost as well. So we're kind of doubling up the chips. The reason for doing that is engagement with the player base, to make sure, as you just mentioned, that someone finishes the season and doesn't kind of drop out halfway. They're giving you lots of chips first half of the season and then the same amount of chips the second half of the season, so that people hopefully keep engaged with the game. Those that are engaged, like myself, will hopefully benefit from having those double chips, but it's mainly for those people that kind of dip in and out of it and think, by the halfway of the season, I've used all my chips, so I'm going to give up now. Whereas they refresh halfway now. So that's an exciting change.
So who is the one player that everyone should have in their team?
This is a tricky one, because whether you're a Salah or Haaland owner splits lots of camps. So because they're premium, what we call premium assets, they're at 14 and 14.5 million. It's either really one or the other. I have seen some drafts with both, but then you do compromise in lots of other areas. So I think it's one of those two. For me at the moment, it's Salah. But to be honest with you, those two aside, I think Palmer with his fixtures for Chelsea, the way Chelsea played in that World Club Cup, I just think he's due a good season after not a great one last season, and I think he's going to hit the ground running, to be honest with you. I think Enzo's a great addition to that team last year, and I think he'll just continue to push on. And I just think Palmer is such a nailed asset in that team, and everything seems to go through him. He's got set pieces, penalties, obviously. So he, for me, I would say is the nailed pick of the season, for the start of the season at least.
So if I've got a blank slate, which to be honest is the case at the moment, what's the best strategy for building the team? Because I've got to be honest, I always just start with my goalkeeper, build my back four, and then run out of money by the time I pick my second or my third striker. Are you putting in your flagship asset first? Are you shortlisting 3 or 4 kind of immovable players that in an ideal world might stay in your team for the full season? How do you approach building the team from scratch?
Yeah, so I think like you say, a lot of people kind of build from the back. I think the best way to do it is to stick in your nailed assets, or those that you're not planning to move anytime soon. Stick those in. So for me, that's Salah. For me, that's Palmer. I've also got Bruno Fernandes. I'm giving away a few of my team, which I'll share later. But get those assets in. What you've got to think about is price points. And it's quite undervalued in terms of a strategy. But think about different price points. So, for example, I'll give you an example. Watkins at the moment, 9 million, going great guns during pre-season, scoring loads and loads of goals. He's at 9 million. Now, that's quite expensive for a striker, other than kind of Haaland. You go down under that, and you've got 7.5 assets like Solanke, you've got now Pedro, you've got...
Oh, we lost him.
Oh,
I think he's just in a little bit of a hole, but it was interesting.
He's back.
He was kind of talking about João Pedro at the time. I think you're back now, Matt.
It's back, but there are some sound issues. We can't hear you at the moment.
We got the fancy gremlins. We'll do the refresh again where Matt just exits briefly and then comes back in, and then hopefully we'll get the sound back. Just whilst we wait for Matt to return, let's flash up the GMS League, because I believe we've got a QR code here, as you can see on the right of your screen, and we've got our own league, Joel. So if people want to scan that on their phone, they can join.
They can scan it on their phone, but also I'm sure we're going to put the codes in the description of the videos and on Twitter. We'll make sure that the links are out. So if they haven't been able to scan, they can still be able to join the league. That's really important. How well do you think you're going to perform in our...
Terribly. I'm really looking forward to, if we get Matt back, to running through my team, not his. So I can basically have it judged and or copy his team. And then hopefully we're in a position where I can do a whole lot better. The league code, by the way, is VNNP75. That's V for Virgo, N for Nottingham, another N for Nottingham, P for Peter, 7 and 5. Or you can scan the QR code. But Matt's back with us now. Matt, you were sort of talking a little bit about João Pedro and some other kind of players maybe worth selection. I don't know if you just want to continue that.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's happening with my sound. You can hear me okay?
All
Yes.
perfect.
Brilliant. So I was talking about price points. So it's thinking about, okay, where do I kind of want my premium assets? And then if I take Watkins as an example, he's at 9 million, which is quite an expensive striker, but he's had a great preseason. I mean, he's scoring every game, as you're seeing, normally assisted by Rodgers until he got injured, sadly. But he's at 9 million. What if you pick someone like a Watkins? What that allows is for you to move off him if, for example, he doesn't get penalties and perhaps Tielemans gets those, because that obviously knocks points off Watkins' potential points in the future. Or if you decide that he just doesn't start the season as well as you expected. Going with a 9 million asset means you can quite quickly drop down to a Solanke if he's fit, João Pedro, a Mateta. They're all at 7.5 million. So you've got to think about price points as well. You've got to think, if I am to shift from this player, where else can I go? Whereas if I go for a budget forward, let's say at 5.5 or even 6.5, I go for a Welbeck or someone like that, I haven't got a lot of wriggle room if Welbeck doesn't hit the ground running as I expect him to. So it's always thinking about those price points in your team and really thinking about how can I move off this player and who might I be able to go to, and being quite flexible, therefore, in your initial setup of your game week 1 draft.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So speaking of game week drafts, I think we might have lost Matt. We'll try one more time to get him back. I'm going to run through my team in a moment, and hopefully we'll get Matt back and we'll be able to quickly run through his team as well. And then we'll have Gus Poyet to hear from. But once again, if we just stick up the QR code in case people want to join the GMS Fantasy League, then you can scan that on your phone. And again, VNNP75. That's VNNP75. So we'll bring Matt in now just to quickly wrap up if we can. There we go. Matt's moving to get a little bit more reception. We're on the go, Matt. Good to have you back. You can hear us okay?
Can you hear us, Matt? Oh, we can see you well, but we can't hear you.
There's no sound, unfortunately.
No sound.
Matt, try and refresh one more time. I'm going to run through my fantasy team, and Joel, you can rate it. And then if we get Matt back, we'll just have him list off his team, and then we'll wrap up the segment. So this is my fantasy team, Joel. Rob Sanchez in goal, home to Crystal Palace. Back 4, Vardiol away at Wolves, Cucurella home to Palace, Matty Cash home to Newcastle, Pedro Porro home to Burnley, Brian Mbeumo Arsenal at home, Cole Palmer captain at home to Crystal Palace, Florian Wirtz at home to Bournemouth, front 3, Alexander Isak. I was banking on the fact he'd be a Liverpool player, so I'm going to have to transfer him out. Yohan Wissa and Hugo Ekitike. What do you think?
You know what? I don't actually think that's too bad, to be fair. Obviously, the one that stands out is Isak, because I don't think he'll probably still be in the reserves by then, isn't it? But besides that, I think a lot of that makes sense. And I do think Cole Palmer is going to catch Crystal Palace by surprise because they'll still be partying after winning the Community Shield. I think I like the Ekitike shout. He looks really sharp in the Community Shield. I love these 1-2 play. But yeah, overall, I can see it being very successful. You also said Wirtz versus Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think he'll be the one. He'll be the difference maker. He'll be the one with all of the assists. But ultimately, I'm rubbish at fantasy, so I'm going to try and copy Matt's team. I think what we're going to do is we're going to move on because we've got to hear from Gus Poyet. But thank you to Matt for making the effort. We apologize for the gremlins. You can follow Matt via @FPL Matt W. And what we'll probably do is we'll have him write his team to us and we'll make a graphic of that so you can see on social media a little bit later how he's lining up for the opening week of fantasy football. And once again, if you want to join the GMS League, you can scan that QR code or you can enter the league code. So QR is on the screen. League code is VNN for Nottingham Forest P75. VNN P75.
That is brilliant stuff. Mate, that's some really good presenting right there, by the way, mate.
Hey, I'm taking the mantle from Olivia. She's swanning off on holiday and I'm the sidekick.
Listen, first of all, no one can take the mantle from her. She's absolutely wild. But
Indeed.
that's another conversation. But I also want to say, I think it's time now that we should get into your Gus Poyet interview, right?
Yeah, Paul Gilmore, the brand new football correspondent at GMS, and we're delighted to have him on board. He spoke to Gus Poyet, and do you know something, Joel? Gus has played or managed or assisted at 25% of the entire Premier League. Do you know the clubs?
Chelsea,
Correct.
Tottenham.
Correct.
Was he at West Ham?
No.
I don't know why I thought he was at Villa or West Ham. Sometimes you get the clarinet. I get the clarinet shirts confused. Was he at Villa?
Yeah. As a player, Chelsea and Tottenham, that's 2. And then assistant at Leeds United, 3. Assistant at Spurs, 4. And in fact, I'm wrong. It's 6 because he was manager at Brighton and he was manager at Sunderland. So 6 out of 20 affiliations.
Wow. That's a man who loves his football, and he's a wild man as well.
Let's hear from him. He was speaking to Paul Gilmore a little bit earlier.
All right.
Gus, thank you for joining us on Market Madness on GiveMeSport. It is fitting that we speak to you ahead of Premier League opening weekend, because I'm going to take you back 26 years. That Gianfranco Zola scooped assist, that volley against Sunderland. What are your memories of that?
It was special because it's the goal that everybody remembers. I didn't know at that time, obviously. Especially because I never tried before. I never practiced that. I don't remember trying again, either in my career. It was that action at that moment in that precise time. And yes, it makes people remember about, first game of the season at any club, but especially at Chelsea, was Sunderland. They always call me to remind me. So it was a great moment for me because it's something that stays, forever in the history.
What's that feeling like in the days leading up to opening weekend? You've had the summer break, everything's been relaxed, you've put in your work with pre-season training, and then all of a sudden, as a manager and as a player, what was that final few days like?
I think you just want to start. You've been running a lot, you've been suffering a lot in pre-season, you've been traveling a lot, and especially when you're playing in the Premier League, you want to start well. So it's that kind of tension that you say, okay, we need to win. We cannot start not winning. It's very important to start well, to settle down, blah, blah, blah. So I remember, for example, that day I scored the first goal. Nobody remembers the first one. It's a header, but nobody remembers, only the fourth. Okay, but for me, it was important to score the first. I think you want to start. I think it's a little bit of anxiety. Everybody, you get to Thursday and you say, come on, the time doesn't pass, and you want to start Saturday at 3:00 because it's what you're waiting for. It's what you train for. It's why you are, involved in football. And always I don't know, I got the feeling, I don't know if you have the same, even in England, with the weather, the typical game of summer, sunny, quite hot, 3:00, proper first league game. It's a great time. I think why we love to play in the Premier League.
Well, we've talked about your goal for Chelsea on that opening day, so let's stick with the Chelsea theme. And what do you make of everything that's happened there in the last year, and especially this summer when what they've done in the transfer market? How do you assess their chances of winning the league this season?
They need to try. They might be close. I think they will be close. Okay, closer to the top. I think they made a big step forward because last year it was too many up and downs. The team started normal, then they have a great momentum, then they dropped before Christmas, and they started the rumours, obviously, and many things, and then they come back slowly, and it was like, yes, but always when they were doing okay, something happened, but then winning the trophies at the end of the season in Europe and the World Cup of clubs, I think it put this squad a step forward, higher in the level, and now obviously that helped him. I know there is more responsibilities, but I don't think it's a problem for this kind of players. It's just that you feel that you win, you can win, and that will give it an extra edge. Also, I think it's an extra worthiness for the position. I don't think the teams now they're going to play Chelsea the same way that they played last year. Last year it was still something to do against Chelsea, either pressing high, either put pressure on the goalkeeper, trying to look for a mistake. It looks to me that they improved they went like as a team, they are better settled. There is better things working out. And I think that is not only credit to the players, but also to the staff. Because as you know, the pressure in the Premier League is tremendous. When you are in a team like Chelsea, you must win something. And that gives you the time to keep working and to keep improving.
Gus, do you think they've added the right profile of player when you think, especially in those attacking positions, Joao Pedro and Liam Delap, but especially if they do come up against teams that maybe do think they can sit in a low block and try and frustrate them?
It's difficult to say, but I think there is not too many players available, what we can say, all over the world to open that kind of situation. So I think Chelsea, and especially because of the coach, Maresca, they try to do it through playing and moving the ball and isolating, the players that can play 1v1 and getting close to the box with Palmer. So they go something. I think it was a very important move to change the striker. Okay, and I'm not going against Jackson here. I'm going against that it was not working with his style. Okay, because like I said, it's not about it's a good player of a player. No, it's a good player, but the style of Chelsea maybe needs somebody else. And I think Joao Pedro got something that Jackson doesn't have. That is the link. Like he can get out, play as a number 10, and then get in the box at any stage, or play number 9 and be present. So you got the two options, in and out. So for the defender, it's going to be difficult to be in a position to mark him all the time. When before Jackson was always there. That's it. So it's a different style. And if you are at home and you need the lap, you know that it's going to have the presence, and you can even wait, maybe depending on the position, keep Joao Pedro, because I know he play a Brighton behind or wide left. So it gives you different options. I think it was interesting. I'm not saying it's the perfect fit, but I think it was interesting, and so far it's working. So let's hope it continues.
Just in terms of your former clubs as well, Leeds are back up again. Do you think they're well equipped to stay in the division?
I'm not saying that it's not possible, because in football we've seen everything, but I think they need a little bit more. I think they need a little bit more of experience, a little bit more of Premier League experience, a little bit more. But it's still time. The problem is that the market is really complicated, especially with the names that are coming out, because everybody's looking for the same, or more or less. And there is players that they are specifically for the Premier League, and when you start competing with other teams, it's practically impossible. And then you start dropping your level, because there is no. And then when you drop the level, you don't have what you need. And that's why, with all respect, the last 2 years, the 6 teams, 3 and 3, that they went up, because you cannot compete with the ones that have been in there for long.
And just very finally, Gus, I want to talk to you about your work in South Korea. 15 points clear at the top of the K-League. Brilliant unbeaten run you're on at the moment. How are you doing it? How are you finding living in South Korea compared to maybe some of your other experiences in different countries?
Completely different. Very, very good things, like security. Amazing. Security here is tremendous. It's not one issue, not one problem. So for the one that we've been in Europe for a while, or me, I'm coming from South America, security is number 1 priority. Now, obviously, with the time I'm here, I understand the league very well. It took me a while. It wasn't easy to understand the mentality, the game, the pace of the game, the tactics, the contact, the referees, and everything. But let's say that it was a click when I found the team. When we say, "Oh, the coach got the team, 11 starters," and I'm a little bit old-fashioned in that. I like it as a player, and I didn't change as a coach. When a team is doing well, I am not the kind of giving rest to 3 or 4 because we play Wednesday and Saturday. I don't. And I've been playing practically the same thing with, suspension, so a little problem. And it's been amazing. I cannot think. The only big thing is we started the season and the aim was not to win the league. And now the aim, obviously, is to win the league. So that's a big change in every aspect. But so far, so good. Let's hope it continues.
Well, Gus, we wish you well for it, and thank you for taking the time to speak. It's good to see you.
Yes, our thanks to Gus Poyet, who was speaking to us on behalf of 7Bet Football Betting. Go to 7bet.co.uk for more details. And if you want to hear an extended edit of the interview, that's going to be up on the GiveMeSport site very soon. So keep an eye on that. And well, it's nearly time for the end of the show. But before we get there, we asked Ben at the start of the show, where will Bilal El Kounis end up playing? Ben, what's the answer?
Yeah, it's a fascinating situation because Bilal El Kounis has a relegation release clause, which is seen by suitors as market valuation. And as a consequence, Leicester are anticipating an exit in the next 2 weeks or so, even though they'd prefer to keep. And I'm not so sure that Leicester are going to get much of a profit on the 21 million or so pounds that they paid, only signing the player a year ago. And that is because, unfortunately, by going down, the relegation release clause has dropped. Some Leicester sources paint that relegation release clause number as still in excess of £30 million. But I'm told that that clause was only active that high whilst Leicester was still in the Premier League and has dropped further to somewhere in the region of 26 million euros or about 22 million pounds. So it might be a case of Leicester breaking even. Newcastle United are looking at Bilal El Kounis and have started talks also for Jacob Ramsey. And as Fabrizio said, there's other names on the list too, but they're in the mix. Tottenham also, but Eberechi Eze is their priority. And that might open up the door for Leeds United. I'm also told that clubs in Saudi Arabia have also explored a deal for Bilal El Kounis. Al Ali are one of them, and they're desperate to add another midfielder. But Bilal El Kounis would rather stay within the Premier League. So keep an eye on maybe Newcastle, possibly Leeds, other clubs earlier in the window. West Ham United could be another one to watch. And I'm told too that Leverkusen really like the player as well in Germany. So it's a bit of an open race. And I think Leicester's hope is that no one sees value in triggering the clause, even though it's actually a really appealing number. But of course, the terms are different. So Leicester are hoping that someone goes outside of the clause, gets more preferable payment terms, and goes just a little bit higher so they can turn a profit. But at the moment, Leicester feel Bilal El Kounis will leave between now and the end of the window, with several clubs interested.
Wow. I have to say, Ben, you've done a good job with that. I don't know how you had time to go and get all that information. You've been online with me the whole time. But
it was when Paul was doing that Poyet interview, I was looking at my phone, took a quick call, put together the info, and there we go.
Amazing stuff. But I have to say, for everyone watching, that's all we have time for today. And we will be back in a week's time. But until then, you can listen back on your podcast app of your choice. Just search for Market Madness. And for more info on any of the stories we've discussed and much more, head over to GiveMeSport.com. Joel Beya, Mr. Ben Jacobs. See you soon. Signing out. Peace.